Welcome to Experts Unleashed, a podcast that aims to uncover how professionals and entrepreneurs transform their experience into income while making a positive impact in the world. I'm your host, Joel Irway, and over the past 4 years, I've helped entrepreneurs develop and launch their expert-based businesses to grow past 6 and 7 figures per year. Now, a professional expert serves their community through paid training, education, or service, and this podcast will show you how to design and execute your plan to become a 6 or 7 figure expert without a big team. So, let's get started. Hey, what's going on, experts? It's Joel here with another episode of Experts Unleashed, and today I've got a very special episode of a good friend of mine, David Schloss, who is actually a repeat guest on another one of my podcasts, Sold with Webinars, that I did with him last year. I invited him on to Experts Unleashed because I wanted to hear his journey. I wanted to hear his story of how he was able to seize opportunities. And when I finished with this interview, we got really, really deep. And I talked to David after the interview, and he was mentioning to me how he had never kind of gone this deep and been this vulnerable on throughout his story. And as you know, Experts Unleashed is all about like discovering the opportunities, how we as experts and entrepreneurs can become opportunists and see those spots for opportunities. Now, David's back was completely up against the wall from when he started out and got his first taste of success when he was still in college at the University of Florida. So pay attention to this episode because I think it's going to relate with a lot of you and understand kind of what his thought process was as he's going through his journey, through his success of now owning a multi-million-dollar advertising agency. You'll love this episode. Stay tuned until the very end and let us know what you think about the episode. Email me over at joel@thewebinaragency.com. Let me know what you think. David, man, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you here.
Appreciate you, Joel. I'm really happy to be here too.
So as my audience knows, the whole goal of this podcast is to learn the aha moments of when my guests discovered like, wow, there's something here. This thing of entrepreneurship, the aha moment of how we were able to successfully monetize my expertise. And so that's what we're going to be diving into today. We just finished up our pre-interview work and you got started back in 2007. Before we jump into that story, give my audience a quick background about who is David, what does he do now, and then we'll kind of hit the rewind button and I'll jump into the interview and share your origin story.
Sure. So hi, everybody. So I'm David Schloss. I own and operate an agency called Convert ROI, and we specialize in social advertising primarily on Facebook, Instagram, and now introducing YouTube. We've been in business for the last 9 years in terms of running ads for people on Facebook and Instagram. Focus a lot with high-end influencers, celebrities, just personalities in their niche, where if they are selling info or a service, we can help them with that, especially if it's a webinar or some form of let's say a coaching or application-based funnel. We spend close to $3 million a month now, and we are helping close to 50 clients a month help basically manage their advertising and get them the results they're looking for.
Awesome. I know a lot of my friends are clients of yours, David, which is one of the reasons why I want to have you back on this show. But for my audience who's listening right now, they can be much further early on in the stages of maybe not even getting to a webinar, not even getting to that, the paid marketing side. This is a show about experts and entrepreneurs in that origin story, as I mentioned before. I want to hit the rewind button and I want to go all the way back to, let's say, 2007. That's when you got started in this world of entrepreneurship. Take us back to what was happening in 2007 and how did you discover this whole passion for, hey, I can really, I can get paid for my services. I can get paid for doing things for other people. So what happened in 2007?
Sure. So I was 18 years old at the University of Florida as a freshman. And it was the first time I was really having to do everything on my own, right? Responsibilities, feeding myself, doing everything for myself. And one of the things that really dawned on me while I was at the University of Florida was, I have to start finding ways to support myself. And I didn't want to go the traditional route, getting a really crappy job, working on campus or, any of the restaurants nearby, because that's what most people would do. And I didn't want to settle for that. And so I decided to just go on Google, and I was just doing some research around how do I make money online, which we all know today, if you do that, you will be just going in a circle of the same info over and over. But back then, you would put that search term in and you'd get a lot of top 10 lists, top 12, top 7, these top lists of the things you can do to make money online. And, there was blogging and creating videos and doing paid posts back then, like writing $5 posts for people about reviews, things like that. But what really got my attention was SEO and video marketing. And, at 18, I'm like, I don't really know if I can afford doing this. There must be a large startup cost. There really wasn't. A lot of what I had to do to get started was really just learn how to use WordPress and learn how to build what was called Web 2.0 properties back then on these free sites and have everything linked together. So without getting too technical, I learned all that stuff on my own just going through some Google searches. And the video component of things got my attention too, because all these SEOs were saying, oh, you need to learn YouTube if you want to rank fast and impress people. So they sort of went hand in hand. And at that time, I'm going, I got a full work schedule in terms of school. I'm at a crazy school that's going through sports mania right now, party mania. How am I possibly going to be able to fulfill any of this stuff for myself at first? Before I did anything for others, how do I learn this and apply it for myself? So I would take 2 to 3 hours a day learning for the first 6 months, just reading and reading and reading. So I basically treated it like a class, right? I figured, you know what? If I'm going to learn this and do it the right way, I got to treat it just like I would anything else. Since I'm in college, put it in the same workflow as being a college class. Mm-hmm. So 2-3 hours, and it's just read blog after blog after blog. I probably had 30 or 40 blogs in an RSS feed, and I would open it every day and just start reading and creating my own notes of different ranking tactics and learning how to build a site. My first WordPress site was built 11 years ago. I learned how to do enough CSS to manipulate how a page looks. I wasn't going to design a site. I just wanted to be able to put something up there. Learned how to screw with a server to make sure that the site was working. Like all these little things that SEOs were saying was common was super uncommon to me. So I had to figure it out. And thankfully, 6 months in, I felt comfortable enough to launch an affiliate site where I signed up for ClickBank, and I would take products in the business category, people learning how to make money online. This was a suggestion that I read from a blog, was the thing that you want to be successful in, write reviews around the products you're going through, and then just put them up on the site. Right? So I started doing that, and I made my first sale within 90 days of starting to do that.
So let's pause real quick because I've got a couple of questions. So you searched on Google, hey, what's the best way that I can make money online? Right? Yeah. So at this point, you go to school, you're paying for your education at University of Florida, right? What was the goal in mind? Like, man, if I could just make X number of dollars a week or per month, like, what did you think was realistic at that time? Like, what would have been a great goal for you?
The goal was actually $3,000 a month.
$3,000 a month.
I didn't even need $3,000. I just wanted to make $3,000 because I'd have something left over. I didn't have that many bills in college. I mean, most of my school-related expenses were either already covered from like massive amounts of savings or some form of scholarship. But I still had some I had to pay myself, right? So that extra $3,000 would cover my rent because I live in an apartment, my car, gas, and insurance, and food, obviously. And that's really all I had to worry about, And so for me, that $3,000 meant I can be comfortable, which at the time I didn't understand what comfortable even looked like because I was always scrambling for something. And so $3,000 was the goal. And that's all I really needed, which in hindsight is really funny to even think about. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, $3,000 was the goal. And it took quite a bit to get there. But the great thing is I had something to work towards. Mm-hmm. And I never even knew that people were making $3, $5, $50,000 a month doing this thing. I didn't even know what it was prior to that. And so just wanted to start small and work my way up.
So you've got your goal, $3,000 a month. You're in college. And you start searching for ways to make money online. You come across all these articles, all these lists saying these are the top ways to make money online,
Mhm.
which is ironic because SEO, if you don't know what SEO is search engine optimization. So it's basically when you go into Google, the whole algorithm of what you type in, the back end of what it shows you is what SEO is. And so learning how to manipulate that and give Google what it wants is the art of SEO. So you come across all these lists. What were the common, like obviously you chose SEO. That was a common three, SEO and video marketing. But you said you started to practice it and learn it, but so that's the art of driving traffic. It's not necessarily how to make money. When did you come across, did you start out with the idea that, okay, I'm going to learn SEO and I'm going to sell affiliate products to get to $3,000 a month? Or what was the first stage in your mind is what I'm trying to get at? Did you know you wanted to sell affiliate products, or did you not even know how to sell a product at that point?
I didn't really know how to sell a product. And through a lot of these articles, like I said, I was curating a lot of this content, just creating my own notes of what people were saying. So I'd reference, a famous SEO at the time and what they were doing, and their key ways of making money were, let's say, affiliate income and client services. And so I would look at that and I would see what the common denominators are across these 10, 15, 20 SEOs that I'm following. And if a lot of them said they had affiliate income and client services, I'd look at that and go, well, obviously they're all doing a similar form of income generating activity. I need to follow that same path. And so I first started out with affiliates, the affiliate marketing side of things, because I then didn't have to worry about other people's property, right? I wanted to test things out for myself, make sure that the principles I learned weren't going to get anything banned, shut down, so on and so forth. So I tested it on myself. And the suggestions at the time were sign up for a popular marketplace, ClickBank, or any other marketplace, find products in a category that are something that you're actually passionate about. And if you're going to review product, buy those products and review them. Very simple. Go through them and review them. Now, at the time, I was doing that already. I was going through products and learning at an exponential rate. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to take these products and I'm going to just start writing reviews about each one of them that I've been through. This was when Warrior Forum was at its peak. They were selling $7 things all day long. And I was just scooping them up one after another, learning strategy after strategy. But here's the thing. There's people still scooping up products these days and never apply them. I was buying a product every other day, taking that info, doing it, getting a result, going, okay, next, right? And then I would just keep stacking. And so we're talking 40, 50 products over the course of 6 to 9 months that I was going through and then eventually reviewing. And that's where it led to me going the affiliate route in my first year, at least learning how to do it for myself, building the site, hosting it, putting up the reviews on WordPress, right? How to hot link everything, how to make sure your affiliate link can be tracked. And we're talking all sorts of stuff that's still talked about to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing that 11 years ago just to make a couple, $40 commissions or, $20 commissions and hopefully rank the site enough to make it to 3K.
Well, there's something really, really important about that, about what you just said. And I preach it from the mountaintops. It's like there's lots of ways to make money. And one of the ways to make money, especially for you and me both, we're constant course junkies or info pro. We're always learning. And that's a great thing. But there's a market for people who learn, who buy and don't implement. Meaning if you buy and you implement, and you learn what works and what doesn't work, you can now go market to the people who bought and didn't implement. And you can be like, hey, listen, you're clearly interested in what you just bought. Why didn't you implement it? Would you like me to implement it for you? So these people who are course junkies, there's a market within that market of just selling the services. All these people out there, I'll use the big internet marketers out there right now, Survey Funnels with Ryan Levesque. If you went in and you bought his course and you implemented it and you learned the art of the survey funnel, I guarantee you 90% of the people inside there never implement one. But if you said, hey, listen, I've gone through everything, I've tested, I've built it, let me do it for you. That is your hottest market right there. And anyway, it's kind of like low-hanging fruit. It really is. Lots of people buy my webinar course and don't ever build a webinar. That's why we have such a high upgrade rate to oh, we'd love to have your agency build it because I went through it. Your course is great, but I just don't have time. There's a huge, huge market for it, but you got to do the work and you have to learn it and then implement it for yourself and then go market as a service. So I love that. Okay. So You start out, Google search, get all the free materials that you can, learning SEO to drive traffic for people, learning SEO and video marketing, which is really, really interesting because video marketing is like exploding right now. And we're here in 2018. So you've got a leg up on probably 99% of the people out there teaching video marketing as it is. So, okay, 90 days in, you're building your own websites. You make your first affiliate sale. What happens after that? Like, awesome. You made your first sale. Like, holy crap, I made money online. I've officially done something right. Where does it go from there?
Yeah, I felt like I made it. Like, it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, I broke the threshold. Like, I'm officially a business guy now, right? It was one of those feelings. And $20 commission, by the way, if anyone was curious. When I made that commission sale, it was like the beginning of this, as I told you, it was like a newfound addiction. It was an addiction to not just the commission payments, right? Hearing that sound of like a ding, oh, it's a PayPal payment. That's cool. And trust me, it could be addicting. But I was more interested in the feeling of it, right? The feeling of like, wow, I did something for myself. And so I looked at it as, okay, I just made a sale. We're 90 days in. I figured out what generated this sale. How do I do this 10x, right? How do I make it so that I'm getting 10 sales a week or 10 sales a month? And so I would start to learn about how do I find people who are searching with the intent of buying, right? So now I'm learning the intricacies of SEO, finding the right terms versus trying to target to everybody and trying to, rank for everything. And so I became more of like a sniper, right? So now, and this is a large part of my philosophy now is, go after the audience and go after the type of people who are looking for exactly what it is you're willing to talk about and be about and be all in with. It's very similar to what I do today in my own business. Like, I'm focusing on Facebook and Instagram. I live it all day. I don't talk about anything else. And so people are willing to constantly talk about it with me because they know I'm in love with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A novelty to me. This is what I enjoy and love every day. So with SEO, I looked at it from that sense of, what do I have to find with the people who are in love with this subject and are looking for more info to purchase or products to purchase, anything to purchase really. And so I started to build a gigantic network of websites. I would build a site a week and I would build it in the same framework as what I had before, right? So it was a 10-page site. Majority of it was review content of these courses or at least products that people were buying and are interested in. And then there would be a couple pages of like resources that would link out to other products, right? So the 10-page site would be linked to 20 to 30 different things. And then once that's done, you would go through the ranking process and then rinse and repeat. You would just do this over and over and over. This was during the time where people were creating their blog networks, right? They'd have 50, 100, 300 sites, interlink everything that's relevant, and they would just boost their own stuff. They would manufacture their own authority. And so I was creating that similar thing. And, it's slipping my mind as to who the big dogs were back then doing it. But man, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. You'd put 5 sites together. They were relevant. You'd link them. All of a sudden, bam, one site's number 9, the other one's number 12. You're like, all right, momentum, here we go. So you would get this feeling of like, I'm feeling successful. I feel like I could do it. And I know that if I'm just persistent enough, I'm going to create the result I'm looking for. That $20 commission then turned into $100. All of a sudden, I'm getting a $100 check from ClickBank. Then, several weeks later, it's like, oh, $200. What's going on here? And then I'd be able to see where they're coming from, right? So now it became a game for me. And like I said, it's an addiction. So all of a sudden, I'm obsessed with, oh, I got to produce more like this. I got to keep doing this. And I did that for an additional about 6 months of just creating site after site after site after site. And it became nuts to have 50 domains. I'm 19 by then, 50 domains, all in this massive dedicated server. I'm interlinking everything. I'm learning the software. I felt like I was becoming like an engineer because I was having to constantly coordinate stuff and figure out where it came from. But it was fun. And that's when I noticed like, wow, I'm really passionate about this stuff. I'm getting results for me, which is great. But I really enjoy the intricacies that goes into building something, a
Yep.
business at the time. And I didn't really know what that meant yet.
So 6 months,
Yeah.
what are you making now? So after that $100 or $20 commission, like approximately per month, like in the affiliate income of doing
Yeah.
SEO for yourself, did you hit the $3,000 a month goal?
Got close. So I say we now because it's a thing I always do, but I got to about $2,200 a month. I had 50 sites, so there was obviously some expenses I had to take out, but $2,200 a month. I had a couple tools, a couple hosting things I had to take care of, and I'd probably be left over with like $1,700, $1,800 a month, but it was like on autopilot. And I was always finding new ways to integrate new sources. And that's when I would incorporate like paid posts and all these other things. So I'd find opportunity to make an extra $300-$400 or $500. It wouldn't be stable, but every couple months you'd have a month where it's like, oh, I hit $300-$400, and then it'd go back to $1,800, right?
Mhm.
So it was constantly bouncing around, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to find ways to create something that was more stable, because then I would feel like I actually had a business.
Yep.
And it wasn't a hobby anymore.
So 6 months down the road, you're making about $2,000 a month doing this stuff for yourself, right? Where was
Yeah.
the transition point to where you saw the opportunity, like, hey, if I can do this for myself, there's probably other people who would pay me to do something similar for them. Like, when did that happen?
So I went to a meeting on campus. I was joining a investment club. So just so everyone understands, I was a finance guy when I joined college. I was into stock trading, options trading. I was always a money guy. I was finding ways that the markets would be able to manipulate themselves to make more money. And so I went to an investment club meeting, and one of the guys asked me, like, what do I do? Like, what is it that I enjoy to do? And I just briefly mentioned, oh, I rank websites. It was the first time I ever said it verbally. I'm like, oh, I rank websites, and I just make money on autopilot. It sounded so scammy when I said it, but I just did it. And the guy goes, that's really interesting. My dad owns a bike shop in town, and he's always looking for ways to show up in Google because he doesn't show up in Google at all. Do you know how to do that? This was in like 2 minutes of a conversation with this guy. And I was like, of course I know how to do that. And I'm like, what are you thinking? He goes, well, maybe we can have a meeting, and maybe you can help him out, and maybe he'll pay you for it. And of course it went through of course you're going to pay me for it. But it was the whole thing of, oh my God, I just started the trend of doing client services, because all I had to do was put it out there. And, one thing led to another. I met up with the guy, got along really well. I told him what my vision was for jumping into the client services game, and that he would be my first client, but I'd be willing to work with him on the basis of, you work with me, I work with you. I'll get you the results. You become my first case study. And he was totally down for that because he wasn't getting anything from search anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So his whole thing was, let this 19-year-old kid do his thing. And if everything works out the way he says it's going to work out, I'm about to have a really prosperous business locally, which, by the way, bikes, mopeds, things like that in Gainesville are a big business. So, you're competing against 3-4 other locations that sell hundreds of these things at a time, weekly, monthly, so on and so forth. And he was the fourth option. You know what I mean? So he was looking for ways to jump up. And I just put it out there, and it started that whole trend of, I think I'm going to start doing this for clients now, because I made my first $750 a month recurring doing client services.
So did he pay you?
He did.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't even a free case study. It was just positioned as, did you position it as like, normally people are charging like X number of dollars per month, but like, you're my first client. You're just being honest and transparent with them. And what I loved about this story is like, you went to your closest network possible to even find the opportunity. You weren't looking for those clients. You were just talking to somebody who's like, whoa, my dad's got a local business. He needs SEO traffic. You saw the opportunity and you seized it. I love it, man. Like it's the best way to just get your foot in the door, is either offer severely discounted services for clients or a free service for a client to get that first case study. And then it just starts to spiral from there. So what type of results did you get for them? And like, how well did that go?
So first thing we did was I had him record a video of like a walkthrough of the store. Okay. And we did a walkthrough of the store because I said, I want you to really connect with your audience, or the audience we're about to connect with. And I want you to just talk about your business and what you sell. That's it. Really simple, nothing crazy. And I said, you give me that video and you just let me do my thing. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do, but just let me do my thing. So he created the video and I took it and I ranked it locally in the city of Gainesville within about 5 days. And it was the second slot in Google. It overtook a website and it was just sitting there in the second slot. And it said, the top bike shop in all of Gainesville, Florida. Right. And he goes, I don't know how you did that, but it's been incredible. Because all we did was put that headline, small little description of the business, and his phone number with the video. And he said, I never really get calls into my shop. I'm starting to get calls now. I'm getting, a couple calls a day for people asking for requests. Do you have this? Do you have that? And then naturally it was to eventually work on his website to come up, right behind the video or overtake the video. But the video was the starting point. So I impressed him first with a quick result that would then get him eager for more. And that would allow us to work longer term. And so that little quick video we put together, which took him 5 minutes, and it took me about 5 days to figure out how to make it rank, was the tipping point and really just the starting point of me doing that exact same process for nearly a dozen other people over the course of a year. I took the exact same thing I did for him because I then used him as a case study. And I would show like a realtor or a lawyer, we could do this same exact thing in this city and do this within a certain period of time.
So how long was that guy a client for? Like after you got him results within 5 days?
He was a client for 4 months. And he was a client for 4 months because at the time, I was not aware of how to do proper client retention. I would get people results so quickly that when there was a month where things would slow down, they would go a little, they would just feel uneasy and they would start to panic, which at the time, if your site gets bumped down one slot, you could see the change. It's 200-300 visit change. If you get bumped 4 slots, you think something's wrong. You get bumped to the second page, you practically think you're dead, right? That's just how people were reacting. And unfortunately, in that 4th month, he went from like a 2nd slot to like a 9th slot, and he noticed a drastic drop in his calls. And that's when I told him, like, this is a competitive game. You're obviously doing something that people see, and they're doing it too. And now is the time that we have to ramp things up. I didn't know how to upsell. I didn't know how to cross sell. I just knew how to sell one thing, the initial result. And so when we got past that initial result, I was having issues with keeping clients for a longer term. I figured it out actually by the 3rd client, but it was one of those things where 4 months in, you learn from your mistakes, you got someone a result, got the case study, and now you can move on to the next person.
So true or false, this began your spiral, not spiral, but like your deep dive into the world of traffic, right? Yes. Of generating traffic. Because you saw there's a huge value add in the marketplace. Because if you're getting phone calls for local clients or any clients that you're working with now, but if you're getting them leads, there's a huge value add and they're easily going to pay you $750 a month to generate more leads, more customers, more sales, right? So let's speed this up a little bit. So that was, let's say 2007, 2008.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So fast forward to now, it's 2018 and you're doing paid traffic for digital companies, online entrepreneurs. Like in between 2008, like those 10 years, like what were some of the major pivot points to now you're running a 50 client service-based, agency, you're crushing it. So like what happened in between that, like the major milestones?
Well, I could tell you like within those first couple of years, like even from 2008 to 2010, I had 2 people who told me to get away from SEO. That was the first pivot point, by the way. This was before the major updates that I got word from 2 people. I have no problem telling you who they are too. Justin Brook, when he was still doing SEO, and Syed Balki, who owns WP Beginner, Opt-in Monster, and a variety of other things. He and I went to school together. And he was the first one to tell me to get out of that space. We went to a dinner and he goes, David, trust me, inside source tells me Google's about to go through some major changes. And in the business you're in, things are going to fall apart. You just are not established enough to get to the point of having 20, 30, 40 clients paying you $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Go into some other direction and start to establish yourself there. That's all he had to say. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, guy, it's cool. But then Justin, also doing SEO at the time, started moving into paid ads more. And he was the one I really I followed a lot of his stuff back in the day. He had a book called SEO Lies, like all sorts of things. And Justin was like, I'm moving into paid ads too. This was when he went through some training with Russell Brunson. This is when he was doing all sorts of paid traffic training and only hinting at it every once in a while. And when he said, oh, I'm going more into AdWords, I'm going to be buying more traffic, I was like, oh, great. The guy who I'm learning SEO from is also moving. Okay. So that must be a sign. Mm-hmm. And just hearing it in person and seeing it and really just having all this unfold, that was the first pivot point. So we're talking, 2009, 10, that was a transitionary year, going all in with paid. This is also around the same time where Facebook said they were opening up an ad platform. So I got in super early. We're talking wild, wild west, penny click type of stuff.
Wow. Yep.
Right. So that was the first pivot point. But that was the beginning of a bunch of other transitions. I had my business fell apart twice. Okay. I had parts where I grew incredibly fast and then things tanked. And it was always because of my sales process and my ability to communicate with the clients. I didn't have great communication yet. I didn't understand that being able to communicate a result, how long it's going to take to achieve it, why it needs to be done a certain way, how we can keep this sustainable. All those things, I was not delivering to them. I was holding that back to myself. And so the communication was off. And I didn't understand client retention, like I mentioned. I didn't understand how to forecast results, how to create additional offerings with my clients and strategically plan things for the future. I was only thinking about the next day or the next month and not 6 to 12 months later. Mm-hmm. And so I constantly would have these spikes and ebbs and flows, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, zero, right? And it would just be bouncing all around and it drove me nuts. And I went through that during my first couple years of doing Facebook ads because there were only 5 or 6 big dogs in the space and they were scooping up everybody. And by the way, a lot of those guys are actually still doing it to this day, right? And so I looked at that and I'm going, great. I'm in another space where it seems like I have potential to really position myself. And yet I'm getting killed right now. I'm just getting demolished. I had to get a job as a side hustle. I looked at the job as a side hustle, not the business. I looked at the job that way. Okay.
I love that.
And I had to work 30 hours a week for about 2 years during a time where I was scared to tell people I even had a job. Mm-hmm. I graduated from school. I got my degree, which is it hangs on my wall and I don't use it.
Yep.
But it was a great experience. But for 2 years after school, I had to get a job. I couldn't afford doing my business because of all these spikes. Couldn't get my own place. Couldn't really support myself. And at the time, my girlfriend couldn't really live with her because I couldn't afford it. Right. So I had these things I had to figure out for myself. So while rebuilding my business the second time around before it went down again, I was really just trying to see whether or not this Facebook thing was going to work for me. Or we're talking like year 4 or 5 into it. We're talking 2014 is really when things started to, it took a downhill, but it also went right back and it stayed. And so I quit the job. I'm going all in. I'm like, this has to work. I have no choice anymore. I'm not going to work for somebody. I just got to go. Didn't prepare for that, by the way. Didn't have savings, nothing. I just had whatever was left. And I knew I had 6 months to figure it out. And so I just kept going. I kept trying to get clients. I went into my network, but I couldn't really convey what I was doing for people still. This is when Facebook still was a wild west to people of being able to understand what I'm doing. Oh, I'm putting an ad on the right-hand side or in the news feed, and we're going to generate traffic for you, and we're going to send them to this funnel, which it wasn't called a funnel at the time. It was just landing pages, right? It was just sending them to this landing page, and we're going to collect their info and all this stuff. A lot of the stuff people are calling funnel hacking and all that. You're just building landing pages and sending traffic.
Right.
That's what it was. And it was hard. It was hard for me. Still couldn't get that across. And what really started to turn things around, I had to go through that second downfall because it actually made me go completely broke, near bankruptcy. I was close to filing, broke as hell, $0 in the bank. Girlfriend moved to town with me because I said, you know what, we got to move forward with this. We have to, take it to that next step. And when we finally made that decision, it was like everything just went down, just completely down. So 0 in the bank, no clients. I still don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm 4 to 4.5 years in the game, and people are starting to know that I'm doing Facebook ads, but they still don't know what I do, so to speak. And I just felt completely out of it. I didn't understand what was wrong with me. On Halloween of 2014, I just remember sitting on the floor, crying my eyes out, thinking, wow, I can't even afford buying candy for kids because I have nothing. So every kid that comes to this door and says trick or treat, I can't give them a piece of candy because I can't afford it. And that car that's outside has 7 days left before it gets repossessed. And this apartment that I'm in, I got 7 days before I get evicted. Like it hit home hard. And that was during that second downfall. I didn't have a backup plan anymore. Couldn't just go back to my parents' house. There was nothing left. So the thing that really caused the massive pivot that led to today, that really turned things around to the trajectory we get to where you and I are having this conversation now, is I decided on November 1st of that year, I got on Facebook. I had like 750 friends at the time. That's it. And I sent a message to every single one of them. This was when Facebook would allow you to message a lot of people and you wouldn't get the, oh, you've messaged too many people today. Like I messaged everybody. Okay. And I sent them a message that said, look, I'm going through tough times. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm reaching out to you because I just want to ask you for one piece of advice. What is the thing that you would do that would allow you to get out of the situation similar to what I'm in? What would you do in this case? I was just looking for one piece of advice. How do I get out of this BS that I'm in? And for every person that gave me a response, I offered to audit any advertising they were running or teach them how to run ads in exchange for that information. I had tons of people who sent me info and didn't want to audit. They just wanted to help. I also had about 77 people. I remember the exact number. 77 people wanted an audit. I did 77 audits in 3 days. I will never do that again, but I did it. And 7 of those people turned into clients paying $1,500 a month.
Seven turned in?
They were so impressed by how the audits were conveyed, how they were put on paper, why things were being done in a certain way. I incorporated video to go with it to show them how I came to that conclusion. And I delivered it to them for free in exchange for that one piece of advice. And it was that entire situation for about 3-4 days that I went through, with the repossession and all this stuff that could happen. I knew I had 7 days to figure it out. It only took me 4 days to really get it. And when I realized that all I had to do was really just deliver value to the marketplace, my own marketplace, I didn't have to worry about the internet marketing space, the webinar space, the real estate space. It was just to my group, my people, it would eventually get out there.
Yep.
And 77 individuals gave me a chance, and 7 of them gave me another chance. It also made me aware of who my real friends were. That's for sure. But it was the starting point of me believing in myself, because then I was like, oh my God, I figured it out. I know exactly what I need to say, not from a sales pitch point of view, but just giving people that idea of like, this is why I believe I'm actually the best at this stuff and why I can get you the results. And this isn't BS. This is how I feel. And now my sales pitch isn't salesy at all. It's like, we're either going to do this or we're not, but I'm going to align with you on your vision. You're going to align with me on mine, and we're going to make some magic together. And that's it. It's not trying to get you to upsell and upgrade to a new package. It's, do we feel good together? We do. Awesome. Let's work together. That's simple.
There's something that I heard inside of the 2 stories that you told of, number one, how you landed your first client and how you got out of a really, really big hole. Yeah. And it's something that I want to point out that is extremely, extremely powerful. You and me, we're born in the internet marketing world, right? But there's people who are listening right now who aren't part of the internet marketing world. So we're part of the internet marketing world, paid traffic, SEO, like those are the ways to go get clients, right? We don't realize how much opportunity is in our direct circle right now, like family and friends. Yeah. Okay, the first time that you said you landed your first paying client, you were at a networking event of somebody who just said, yo, I've got a, you're in finance, completely unrelated to your marketing niche. He said, oh, that's what you do? Cool. I've got somebody who might be interested in your services. That's how you landed your first $750 per month client, right? Mm-hmm. So then fast forward to 2014, everything all came crash. You had success and failure, success, and then you're on your second failure and you hit rock bottom. and you had a list of 750 people on Facebook, which is a list, that's your audience, right? It's one form of list, one form of network, and you reached out to every single one, and you converted 1% of those, right? You converted 1% of the people on your social profile by number one. I mean, it was a lot of hard work, 77 audits, that's freaking nuts. But you turned that into $10,500 in recurring monthly revenue within 4 days, I think is what you said.
Yep.
But it's because you reached out to your family and friends in your network, and you knew that they needed ads, or most of them were probably doing ads. 10% of them said they would take you up on an audit. That's a crazy conversion rate number. But I mean, like, that just means that you're clearly aligned with what your audience was. But I want people to understand that, like, the opportunity, like paid traffic and all that stuff is excellent. Like, that's great when you're ready to scale. But it's like, there's so much opportunity sitting literally in your immediate circle that all you need to do, I say all you need to do, but if you just ask, you'd be surprised at what the results you'd get. So that's amazing, man. I didn't know that about you. And it's really, really powerful. We've all gone through, me included, we've all gone through some sort of story of that. And that's the journey of the entrepreneur. Derek Halpern has this awesome graphic that's been copied and pasted, like the life of an entrepreneur. It's this massive roller coaster that it's not even a roller coaster. It's just spike after spike and downfall after downfall. And that's cool. That's a really, really amazing story. So thank you so much for sharing that.
No problem. Yeah. And just want to make people aware that, we all experience these massive spikes and massive downfalls. It's how you rebound from it. It's a part of your story. Mm-hmm. The thing is you don't have to be defined by your story, mm-hmm. right? You can change it, right? You're writing the movie as you go. You're the actor in your own play. You're the director, right? You're the whole thing. So you determine whether or not you are, just the guy in the background that's doing everything, or you could be the star player on the team, or you could be the main actress or actor in your own movie, right? And so, at least for me, going through that whole phase of the audits and, just busting my butt for like 20 hours a day trying to figure things out because, bankruptcy and repossession and all this stuff, you don't have to get there to realize things can be changed. Mm-hmm. You could do it way before then. Yep. But I had to experience the rock bottom to realize, I really need to dig more into me. There's something with me that is blocking my potential. And for a lot of people, you need to discover that now so you can create what it is you want later. And so take some time, evaluate who you are. What are your values? What do you like to work on? Who do you want to work with? Right? Joel and I met because of a couple of introductions and one face-to-face at like a ClickFunnels event. And that was it. It hasn't been anything else after that. But it was a lot of intros and a lot of tags in Facebook threads, right? Tons of them. And that's all it really takes. These days, so much easier to connect with people if you get tagged every now and again. Mm-hmm. And so just take the time to analyze where you are, where you want to be, and hold yourself to it, but also realize it's a journey, right? This adventure is supposed to be fun. Don't try to beat yourself up because you didn't make that extra $10, $1,000, $100,000. This is a journey. It took me 11 years to have a 7-figure revenue year. And I say revenue year because there's a lot of people saying 7-figure year and they're not talking about their profit. Okay. We're talking a 7-figure revenue year. There are people doing that now in a year, on their first year. Mm-hmm. So realize they just had some shortcuts. They had a lot of knowledge prior. People were giving them the lessons they need to learn to get there faster. And that's okay. But I went through that 11-year journey to finally go, all right, I got there. And I'm glad I did. And I wouldn't change anything about my journey because I've enjoyed every moment along the way. So if you're struggling right now, it's okay. It's a part of the process. So trust the process and keep doing what you need to do because eventually you'll break through and you'll get exactly what you want.
So after you landed those 7 clients, right? $10,500 in immediate revenue and recurring, you learned the art of client retention. Hopefully at that point you kept them for longer, but so was that the start of where you are today? Like, was that the start of your core agency and what you're doing today?
Yep. So that was the beginning of the agency I have now, right? So we rebranded the agency, rebranded myself, right? So I positioned it more as I'm an advertising specialist, not an expert, not a professional advertiser. I'm an advertising specialist that focuses on Facebook and Instagram. That's it. Okay. And I started to write case studies. I decided every month, and I got this as an idea from a buddy of mine, Juan Morales. We were sitting at lunch. My good friend Brad Spencer was there too. And he said, dude, you have so much information. These case studies, like you should be doing a case study a month. You should just putting something out there, letting people know how great you are. Just, hey, client A did this. This is what happened. And that turned into 2.5 years of me writing a case study a month. Sometimes I did 2 a month, but I did it every month. Now, for those of you who know me now for quite a bit, I wrote one in November of 2017.
Oh, yeah.
That was historic in my business because it led to hundreds of people contacting me from a case study, which I just got a client this past weekend from it who just read it recently. We're talking months later.
Mm-hmm.
But I started doing these case studies because I realized I just have to show people that I know what I'm doing and explain it in a way that makes it easy for them. And so repositioning of me, putting out case studies, getting clear on the service offering, how to retain the client, how to communicate better with them. Like all these things came to fruition from that experience of the audits. And by the way, one of those people that signed on with me during those audits stayed and is still with me for 3.5 years.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? So it's really just starting to understand what the client wants, but having them also understand that you're in this with them. This isn't a battle. This isn't that I'm your employee either. Like we're working together. We're partners now. And so having that understanding and that relationship really helped develop my agency over time. I didn't go from, 7 clients to 20 overnight. I went from 7 to 12, stayed for a bit, 12 to 15, stayed for a bit, right? I would incrementally increase because as we grew, I then had to learn things like how to outsource, how to do better project management, how to have better time management. So I would increase, stop, analyze, and go, oh, my time's really starting to get a little messed up here. I need to learn a little bit of time management. So I would just incrementally grow and learn as I go. And, to get to the point where you have 50 clients, like we have a team of 7 now, a team of 7 that's actively working on campaigns. Do we still have clients that leave? Absolutely. Every agency does.
Mm-hmm.
We also have clients that come in all the time. Yes, because we've built that reputation. And I've really put in a lot of work to just let people know this is what we do. We believe we're the best at it. I don't care what any list says. I don't care what any thread says in any group. I believe I'm the best and I'm going to put that out there. And just having that belief and that I'll just call it power, right? When you go out there, you just project it and you say, this is who I am. I believe it. And you can't say anything about it. People align with that. Because there's no actual list of who the best in the world are.
Mm-hmm.
You either believe it or you don't. And so that alone has allowed me to really be connected with more and more people. I go to tons of events now because I enjoy being around people. Before I was scared being in rooms of even 100 people, but yet I could speak on stage in front of 1,000 and everything's fine. But when I'm in the group, I had problems. And I learned how to be more connected with people, not being afraid to ask questions. It's very much like on a podcast level, but just in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just asking those questions. And the more I became okay with being uncomfortable, the more the business grew. And so I put myself in these massively uncomfortable situations. Speak in front of 600 people, speak in front of 1,000 in a group you don't know, in a group you do know, but talk about something you've never talked about before. Get on 20 podcasts in a year and see what that's like, right? Just doing random things like that. And they all benefited greatly. And so I always find ways to challenge myself and learn from those experiences because they've allowed the business to grow too. And it just gets to the point now where, like I said, I just have this belief in myself. Do I fail? Absolutely. I'm not 100%. I got bashed in a Facebook thread the other day for no reason. And it's okay. I was able to take the heat. 10 years ago, probably would have broke down, start crying, trying to figure stuff out. It happens, but this is business. And I've learned that the more that I continue to be persistent, I practice my craft, and it's not about perfection. It's just continuing to get better and better and better along the way. The more people are going to appreciate what it is you're doing for them. And so the business is where it's at today because of that constant grind, but also appreciation for those that have allowed me to grow to this point.
That's amazing, man. So I love this story that this conversation that we ended up talking about today. I mean, because this was quite honestly the path of many entrepreneurs, many experts. And it's, a 10 or 11 year career in the world of marketing and advertising. And it takes a long time to find yourself, find your specialty. Not only that, because like what I love about this is you can become an expert in just about anything, because really you just need to be one step ahead of who your client is. If you're in the service space, right? You need to be great at what you do, but it also has to align with like your vision. Like you could probably sell services on lots of different things, but you have to enjoy doing it. Like, because you could have 50 clients, and if you had 50 clients and you hated serving them, like your life would be awful. I can speak from experience of different ventures that I've done, had a lot of people pay me for certain services. And I'm like, man, this is terrible. Right. So it takes time to discover yourself, find what you really want to do, find your passion, find your vision, but at the same time, knowing how to provide value to other people. So that exchange of goods and services happens. And so thank you for sharing that story, man. That was incredibly powerful. So I want to wrap it up today. I mean, David, we talked about your story from when you went from 2007 to simple Google search of how to make money online. That kicked you into this rabbit hole of marketing, and you enjoyed the thrill. You said you enjoyed the passion and the feeling and the excitement of when you made your first $20 commission, and it started to just snowball from there. Then you landed your first client in the service space, making $750 a month. You built that up, and then it came crashing down. Not came crashing down, but you got out of it when you heard about the Google slap, right?
Yeah.
Started to learn more about paid traffic, got a couple of clients. That came crashing down 7 days away from bankruptcy, or 10 days away from bankruptcy. And you discovered that, listen, your immediate network, there's a lot of money and there's a lot of value that you can provide to them. And that's what got you to where you are today. You're running a 7-figure business, serving other clients, 50 clients right now, 7 employees. And it's only up from here, man. And I appreciate you sharing that story. There's a lot to learn from here, a lot to learn about personal development, entirely. I mean, when you get to a certain point of like learning how to make money or sustain yourself as an entrepreneur, almost always, or at least this is what I found, like the next thing that you really need to learn is mindset and personal development, because you're going to go through some crazy shit. Like you're going to go through some nasty stuff. And I always used to throw the mindset stuff out the window. I'm like, man, I'm not woo-woo. Like I'm not into that whole space. But when you get kicked in the nuts a couple of times and you get kicked hard and reality starts crashing down, you realize that mindset is what is going to pull you through it. And I don't know, just a lesson that I learned from that, just sharing some of my knowing what went through with what I've gone through and what you've gone through. We've gone through some similar experiences, and I know that personal development is like, it's what pulled you through. So David, man, where can people check you out? Like, how do they connect with you?
Sure. So you can connect with me on Facebook, right? You could just search David Schloss, or you could type in facebook.com/SCHLOSSY. That connects with me directly, right? You don't have to go to a fan page. Hit me up directly if you want to talk to me. I check my inbox. I even check the other inbox. I check it all, right? So you can message me direct and we can chat. You can also email me directly, david@convertroi.com. I respond to that too. That's all me. And then lastly, you want to follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/DSCHLOSS925. So those are the places that I'm at all the time. It's what I check all the time. So if you want to reach out, whether it's just to become friends, work together, whatever it may be, don't be afraid. Hit me up and you'll talk to me directly. So let's make it happen.
Awesome, dude. It's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thanks for sharing your story. Please connect with David. He's just an awesome guy. His case study, I know what he's talking about. I know exactly what he's referencing. He did an amazing evergreen webinar case study. So if you're interested in webinars, you're interested in paid traffic, you're interested in the real numbers that happen with running paid ads to an evergreen webinar, it's an incredible case study. So go check it out. Go search and stalk him on Facebook, because you'll find that post. It's got the most comments ever. So David, thanks again, man. And for everyone listening right now, we'll talk soon and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. Now, if you want additional trainings and content outside of the podcast, I release exclusive video trainings on my Experts Unleashed YouTube channel. And if you'd like to come hang out with thousands of other fellow experts, join our Facebook group community where we do hangouts and webinars to help support you in your journey. Finally, if you'd like my personal help to develop, launch, or scale your business, contact me directly for private consulting opportunities to see if any spots are available. And you can find all of the information above at expertsunleashed.com.